Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of ScreamCity? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hello, horror freaks. Welcome back to ScreamCity. I'm your host, Jessica.
And I'm Monica, and in today's episode, we will be reviewing the new film, Insidious, The Red Door.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, very excited to talk about this movie. We have quite a lot of thoughts, I think. But of course, before we continue on with the movie, let's get some life stuff out of the way.
Yes.
So, Monica, what have you been up to these past
Few
couple
days.
of days?
Nothing much. I think my highlight of this past week is honestly getting to see this movie because we have been without an Insidious movie since like 2016, no, 2017, 2018.
Something like that.
That's when we got the fourth key, which not a fan of. But yeah, so I was just really excited that we got to see like some part of this franchise again to come back, and I'm going to reserve my thoughts, but I think that was my highlight of this week. I didn't really have too many downers. I think my downer will always just be having to work, like in general.
100%.
Like not just in my field, but like in general. You know what I mean?
Until we can make this our
Yes,
job.
Yes, exactly. Until I can make this podcast my ultimate primary career and job, I will never be satisfied. So having to go in somewhere, clock in, and like do what I got to do, you know. But anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much mine. Pretty simple. What about yours?
Same-ish. Saturday was pretty. This weekend was a pretty like hectic, busy weekend. Saturday, my sister, my friend Alexia, and I went to go watch Insidious. Like Monica mentioned, we're going to reserve our thoughts for in a couple minutes. And then, we went to one of Monica and I's favorite horror shops here in Texas.
Yeah.
We did our annual, our traditional Buc-ee's run as well. And then that same night, we had like a family party. It was pretty fun. But then I worked the next day. It was a fun,
eventful day.
But then I worked the next day. And
yes.
Work, like Monica said, is something else.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. But anyway, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get into this movie. Now, this is a newer movie, and as always, there will be spoilers, so don't say that we didn't warn you. Now, to give you a brief summary, the Lamberts go deeper into the further than ever before to put their demons to rest once and for all.
Period.
And that's exactly what happens.
And may I just say, I don't remember if I said this in last week's episode, but I love IMDb's like summaries,
brief summaries,
because they're just so
they're to the point, and they're exactly what you want to know about the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So shout out to them for that.
Shout out to IMDb.
But now that we have that out of the way, Monica, what was your first impression watching this film for the first time, and what would you say is your favorite scene and scare?
Yes, because I don't think we got a kill in this one. I mean, there's a death, but there's not like kills.
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right. So my first impression is I liked it. That plain and simple.
Yeah,
I really like this film. So now, is it better than the first one? Absolutely not.
Duh.
Is it in my top 5? Nah.
Right.
No, not really. But I really did enjoy this film. I got some really good jump scares. There was even some times where I wanted to cover my face, which is always great because I'm like, the point is to make me scared.
Exactly.
And congratulations, you got that from me.
Ma'am.
I did think that there was some parts that were a bit slow, and I was kind of like, all right, guys, we're a little standstill here.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going, right? But overall, my first impression is honestly that I am impressed. Like, I am excited for Patrick Wilson, to say the least.
He did a phenomenal job.
He really did, and I think for this being his first
debut,
like directing this project that's actually part of a huge franchise, I think is crazy, and I think is insane, and it's so awesome, and I think he did really well. So I loved it a lot. My fave scene, there were a lot of really good scenes that I really enjoyed, but one that really stuck with me even after was the part where Dalton was able to grab the hammer from his own painting.
That was sick.
Because it was so slow, but it was so like, oh shit. I was like on the edge of my seat. Because I just thought that was like oh my god. It was beautiful the way it was shot, and then like the way that it was like creeping, and it was like in a really creepy setting. Like, I don't know. It was this whole thing. So I really like that. My fave scare, anything with the damn lipstick demon in it. That lipstick demon will forever haunt my dreams.
100%.
And this is how you know that I got scared from this movie. I came home last night. Well, after the movies, we went to go eat and drink a little bit, so I came back a little litty. But then I woke up at like 6 a.m. where it was still kind of dark in my room, and I was very scared because my door was cracked halfway open, so I can only see darkness in my hallway, and I really thought that man was gonna crawl towards me. It was very scary.
Oh my goodness.
But he is so scary.
He is.
And I loved it. I loved
that.
it. I need a painting or a mask or something.
You're crazy as hell.
I am, but I want it. Like, as scary as he is, he's also beautiful.
He is. But he's also iconic.
Oh, 100%. I love him so much.
Me too.
But yeah, I think anything. I like that I think we got a little bit more of him in this film than we did in the first one. Like face wise, and I think the biggest jump scare that I got honestly, there was so many jump scares in this movie and they all got me, but where him and Dalton are in his lair again, and then again it like shows that he's not up in his little room, and then they pan back down and he's like right behind Patrick Wilson.
I know.
And I'm like, it's so scary.
I love it.
But I love it. What about you?
First impression, I was very hesitant walking into this movie for many reasons. One, like I mentioned in last week's episode, my sister watched a very early screening of this movie a few months ago, and it wasn't necessarily her favorite, so that worried me, which I will talk about what she noticed that they changed about the movie. And two, again, like you mentioned, it's just a kind of a well-known theory that no other movie will ever beat the OG, and that goes for any franchise.
Very true.
But I will say, overall, I really liked this movie. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say, because
it was a good one.
So much to talk about it.
Right.
When we go into our little debriefing in a second. But I will say, the audience that I watched this with was honestly great. And I think we've mentioned this before. I feel like a good audience just makes the whole movie watching experience 10 times better.
Yes. 100%.
There were so many claps throughout the movie, like when Tucker and Specs came on screen, when Elise showed up at the end, and when the movie just ended in general. So that was really cute.
It's always a good one to see. Yeah. I love it.
My favorite scene, I have two. I feel like I have a lot, but I can't really think of them. But my favorite scene, again, I have two. First one is when they watch the spectral sightings video. That shit was so funny. And the way that they edited the video as well, with like Tucker floating in the background, I can't stand them. Yeah. When they were talking about like astral projecting, they're so dumb.
Bro, this shit was so funny. He just like plops over like if he's asleep, and then it's like doo 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 doo.
So I'm always going to appreciate them as like the comedic.
They're also iconic.
They're very iconic. The second one was when Dalton, got into the lipstick demon's lair and saw a whole ass showcase of his past. Yep. Like the stills of like scenes from previous movies. Yep. That shit was scary.
It was very scary. Imagine going into someone's like a home or room, and then they just have like a shrine dedicated to your past.
Exactly.
And it's scarier to know that it's a demon because they have the power to like whatever. But yeah.
And I'm like, is Lipstick Demon a collector?
He's like, absolutely.
Just like me for real.
He said, see, one thing about me, I'm a haunt and I'm a terrorize. But I understand that they're people too. So I'm gonna keep my
little souvenirs.
My little souvenirs
as he
for
should.
These people. A little bit of respect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. My favorite scare, I will say, the scene where Dalton is in his art class on his first day.
Oh my gosh.
And he's painting whatever, and a random hand like grabs him.
Scared the fuck out of me.
That was the first one that I was like, "Ugh."
That grabbed my attention.
It sure
immediately.
did. Yeah.
I don't know. So scare wise too. So it was between anything with the lipstick demon. I think it's because it was like the ending pretty much, like where it was all kind of combined. The scene though, where Josh is getting his CT scan.
Yes.
Oh my! I was shitting
that's
bricks.
I'm
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't even read that far.
Second,
oh my gosh!
For many reasons.
Fuck that. Never getting a CT scan in my life.
Number one, I'm claustrophobic.
Oh,
Itch.
yes.
Like I don't have it as bad as other people. But I too get
really anxious in like tight spaces.
If I were to get, knock on wood, if I were to get like stuck on an elevator, I probably wouldn't freak out until maybe 45 minutes in. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, I don't know. It's just, and the fact that he was asleep for 15 minutes, no.
Mm-hmm. All of that happened within 15 minutes. No, I was so terrified.
Yeah.
I was shitting bricks the entire time.
And I knew it was coming because the trailer had to spoil it. But it was still...
I can successfully say that I hadn't even watched a trailer for this movie. So...
Proud of you.
Yeah. So I had no expectations of what was going to happen. So...
But yeah, those two. And of course, like, just pretty much every jump scare was a scare.
Yes,
and absolutely. It was a favorite scare. They were all pretty good.
Yes, they were all anticipated very, very well. Mm-hmm. It was good.
Yeah. But now to get into the movie and just discuss it a little bit more.
Just discuss some favorite parts, some things we didn't like.
We have a lot. To talk about. Number one, R.I.P. Grandma Lorraine.
Yeah, so that was the only picture screenshot that I have ever seen about this movie being made is when they were all at a funeral. Mm-hmm. I saw that all 5 of them were there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, all 5 of them were at the funeral. So I was like, well, it's not someone important.
Right.
Well, like whatever. I was like, so I'm going to guess it was like Carl. I thought Carl had died.
Yeah. I figured it was Lorraine.
Like the grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was just kind of like, okay, well, it's still very sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, R.I.P. her.
The figure that was walking towards the car.
Oh my gosh, yes.
When Josh got back in his car after the funeral. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. Everyone was just kind of like talking during that scene, like, being like, oh my God.
Agreed.
I think, and I know you said you didn't watch the trailer, but I think during the trailer, there was a scene or a snippet of that figure actually like being behind, like being in the backseat of his car and like eventually doing like a little jump scare moment, but it didn't. That didn't happen.
So my thing is, it ended up being his dad, right?
Yes.
Right? Because he's wearing the same outfit that he was when he goes into the further. Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought so. Because for a moment, I was like, they never explained. Yeah, I was like, they never explained like what this is.
Yeah.
Or like who this is. And then I was like, and they're obviously wearing orange.
Yeah. I know.
And then he sees him again at his house.
Yes, when he was playing the mind game.
Yes.
Which that scene fucked me up.
It did, because I'm like, why did he attack him though?
It wasn't his actual father though.
Who
like
attacked
that was the
him?
lipstick demon, like portraying his father. You know what I mean?
Okay. I was a little confuzzled because I was like, he looked happy when he saw him in the further.
I will say, now that we're kind of on the topic of that mind game, that scene that Josh was playing, I've noticed that, well, I will say Insidious is really good at building up a jump scare.
Yes.
Because I've noticed that when you think the jump scare is coming, it never does.
It gives him more anticipation. Yeah,
like
it's a lot longer, and you're just like,
you like when he was flipping the papers or whatever, the pictures.
You're like, oh, there you go.
I was like, it's
okay,
about
no,
to.
it didn't happen,
and then it doesn't, and then I'm like, okay, fine, like I give up.
Like
and
I give
bam.
up. I'm just gonna let it happen. But I think that jump scare was the worst because it was such a loud crash.
Yeah,
I'm like, you just gonna burst through his window like that?
Exactly.
Who paying for that?
Exactly. I'm not.
I'm not. No, I agree. I think they know how to do jump scares well because of that reason. I mean, jump scares. If you're a true horror fan, you're going to know when a jump scare is happening, and even if you don't, like, because you can sense the anticipation. Yeah. But then when it's kind of prolonged for a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
you kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to let
Just
it
accept
happen.
it.
I'm going to accept it. And then
Yeah.
it's something a little bit more, like, it's something bigger.
Yeah.
And then it makes the jump scare worse. But, like, that's what makes it great.
Exactly. And listen, this was my personal horror professional opinion,
Okay.
but I like jump scares.
I like jump scares, too.
I can't stand people who don't like them. They're like, I swear, I was reading comments on this movie and I shouldn't, but I say that as if I was part of the movie, but
Absolutely.
people are like, this movie was ass. Like, there was only, like, it wasn't even scary. They were just like 2 or 3 jump scares. You're a fake horror fan. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm sorry. Cancel me. I don't care.
I will say, so, okay. I hate I hate that this comment is going to come off as part of something that, like, I'm always like, whatever, it's not that serious. I feel like it's a generational thing.
100%.
And I hate saying that because I don't like to stereotype, like, a generation to just one thing and, like, generalize them, if that makes sense. Because I know it's not everyone, but what I noticed, or at least what TikTok and Instagram shows me, right? So whenever they review certain movies, I can see and I know because I, like, a lot in their bios, they kind of tell their age and stuff. So a lot of them think movies like Skinamarink, Smile, and, like, these type of movies that are more based on, like, trauma are scarier to them, and anything like Scream or paranormal
slasher.
and, like, things that we grew up with that is a little more, like, on the funner or more on the fun side for horror is what we find, like, attractive, if that makes sense. So I feel like the younger generation, which is something that I love and hate about them, so they're gonna shit on the movies that we like because it's not
what they're used to
and what they're kind of seeing as, like, scary. Because I'm more than sure a lot of the Gen Z people, like the early or later Gen Zs, are more focused on, like, traumatic events. They're like we grew up with this stuff,
movies,
like,
basically.
Like, give me something that I can actually feel for. And so stuff like this is like playground to them,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh, that's crazy.
That's crazy because I feel the complete opposite.
I feel the complete opposite. So how about,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that's just like a little rant, but I feel like it's something that I'm noticing, but I can definitely be wrong. I'm just kind of like, because so many people hyped up Skinamarink.
I don't know why.
So many people, and a lot of them that I saw on TikTok were, like, a lot of younger people. Younger people saying that they went to the theater, like, 20 times to watch this movie, and I'm like,
crazy.
why? I'm like, it's creepy, but it's not scary, So I was like, I don't know. It was like this. It was whatever. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so the people who maybe gave this movie a bad review, I don't know. Maybe they put if they like the first one, maybe they put the first one on too high of a pedestal, which I'm like, agreed, because it's on my top 5.
Yeah.
I will forever love the first
Insidious
one.
is in my top 3.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just don't see why, like, I don't know. I also feel like I'm biased. We said we wouldn't do this. But I 100% agree that I don't. Is this, like, the best movie ever made? No. Like, I can definitely name better movies than this. But it's a good one. It's a good one. And I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Period.
Okay. Anyway.
Listen. Now that we're kind of sort of on this topic-ish, and this is kind of me being, I don't know if this is me being ignorant or not, but the title card. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes, because
I was expecting more, and again, this might just be, like, the OG horror fan in me.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, I was expecting that, like,
oh, me and Mateo, like, looked at each other. He was like, it's gonna be so loud. I was like, I know. I was like, I'm ready to cover my ears. Like, it was just, I was like waiting for it, anticipating it, and then it just never came. And I was like,
oh,
wait, I'm actually disappointed.
Very. I'm gonna give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10
because the first 2 movies do not hesitate loud. Extremely. So but I
mean, it doesn't change the entire movie for me at all.
But I mean, I'm telling you, I now, not that I didn't before, right? Because I think title cards, the way that they come out, depending on what movie it is, like, I think it's very important because that's what's going to help you attract some of the audience. And I just right now in my eyes, like nothing can beat Evil Dead.
Oh my
like,
God.
oh my God, that
So
was
good.
so fucking cool. That
I
I'm
can't
like,
believe I got that on video. I was like, this
yeah, I
so
know.
good.
Yeah, so I was like, we need more of like
That loud, like
something really loud, something
it's-
really cool to see,
yeah.
something like I don't know, but yeah, I agree.
yeah.
OG title card, perfect, but the sound needed to be more screechy.
I agree.
something
I agree.
something more attractive. Another creepy scene. I'm not afraid of the dark anymore.
Bitch.
I literally said out loud.
I said, I turned
said,
to Alexia and I said, that's not Dalton.
I say absolutely not. No, the minute he woke up, I said that's not him.
Yeah.
Nope. I know that's not my man's.
Yeah.
That's not my boy. My boy is in the further.
Yes, ma'am.
He did not come back.
That's, oh my God.
But the fact that, like, again, the anticipation with her turning off the lights, turning them on, turning
Dude,
them off,
oh my
turning
God,
them on.
stop
Every
that
single
shit.
time, I was like,
I was
it's
like,
right there.
something's coming.
It's right there.
Exactly.
It's right there.
I will say, I loved that scene.
I did too. I liked it a lot.
Oh my God.
I loved it.
I could make a whole podcast about that specific scene. A whole episode about that specific scene.
It was such a good scene.
They slayed.
Very creepy. Very creepy. And he, like his daddy, knows how to act possessed.
Oh, 100%.
He did really good. And I think,
I'm
like,
going to talk about the acting when we get to the cast because I have a lot to say about the
do
entire
too.
cast and the acting.
me too.
But now that we're kind of talking about Dalton, demons be damned, that boy can draw.
Holy fuck.
And I know, I mean, it may not even be him.
Well, that's what I was
for
going to
real,
say. I was like, do we know for sure if maybe that's actually him
I
drawing or
don't
not?
know.
Because if it's not, then whoever is drawing for him, amazing.
Exactly.
But if it is him, like, amazing.
Yeah.
Either way.
Movie-wise, demons be damned, he can draw.
That man can draw really well. When he ripped up his grandma's drawing, I was like, oh, you were trying to prove a point. I understand, but that was a really nice drawing.
It was.
It was very nice. But yeah, I agree. And I liked
justice
it.
for that kid that didn't rip up his paper and she like kicked him out. I was like, that's weird.
I feel like it's the artist,
Yeah.
like the world of the arts where you have to prove yourself. So,
Exactly.
but he said, no, I'm not ripping this shit up.
I
He said, I worked so hard on this. And I was like, you go.
period.
I was like, don't let anyone tell you that your art is not good just because they're trying to,
Prove a point or whatever.
yeah, and trying to be like, I don't know, I forgot, pretentious.
Yeah.
And like, whatever the case is. Like, I understand she's a teacher. She's one of the best. I get it. But I'm like, his drawing was really fucking good. And it really did look like a picture.
It did.
It looked really cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, agreed.
Listen, shout out to Foster for the podcast representation in this movie.
Yeah, I saw that he was
because
making
it was so
one.
funny.
He's
Foster
so
was pretty
cute.
funny.
I like Foster.
For some reason, Alexia was cracking up when Foster walked in, and he shows Josh or his dad the picture of like the painting on his phone. He's like, "This you?"
He said, "This you right here?"
It was so funny.
It was pretty funny. There were some moments where it was a little comedic. I mean, intentional because my girl Chris, so funny, love her.
She brought the
comedic relief, and I appreciate that for her. But there was just some things in the movie like where they're intended to be scary or disturbing, but they just come out kind of funny. I can't remember on the top of my head exactly what it is, but there were some parts where I was like, that's kind of funny. Like, I'm not supposed to be laughing at this, but the way y'all did that was really funny.
I loved the throwback that we got from Insidious 1. I think it was Insidious 1. Like the scene of them in the basement.
Insidious 2.
Oh, it's okay. That's
In
what I thought.
Insidious 2.
Insidious 2.
That was actually I meant to connect the scene, but yes, so I loved, that's part of my favorite scene. So that entire scene, so from the moment that we can see that he can grab the hammer from his painting, and then it turns into part 2. So he goes down into a basement. He leaves the hammer.
I know.
Where Josh ends up picking it up from.
I know.
Oh my god, I lost my shit. I was like, yo, that is fucking cool the way y'all connected that. And then
I didn't obviously well, not really obviously, but I didn't watch Insidious 2 in theaters when it came out. So it was really cool seeing like a short but iconic part of that movie on the big screen.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so cool to watch all of that go down because and then like now like I was under the impression that I thought it was like Specs who took him down whenever he was about to like hammer down on Dalton.
Weren't they like knocked out though? Because
Oh.
Specs and Tucker.
They were, but then Specs ended up waking up before Tucker, and then he can hear Lorraine call out, and because she's like, leave them alone, and then Specs ends up waking up. He lets out Lorraine out of the basement or bathroom or whatever, and then he can hear Josh and like Roseburn.
Yeah.
He can hear them fighting in the basement, and then he goes, and I thought he was the one that took him down, but I guess with this part we see that it's actually Dalton as like a grown up or whatever.
That makes me see, okay, someone needs to explain Insidious and The Further to me.
Me too.
Because like kind of with like Insidious 1 where they start, you know, the door open, like to their house opens and all of that, and in Insidious 2 we realize that it's
been Josh the whole time.
So is there like I'm confused with like the timeline.
Me too, because for a long time I was like, so then is the Josh that was in part 1 not Josh?
Well,
but I was like, I think
I was asking my sister, and she said that at this, like, during that moment where, like, Josh gets down, like, goes downstairs, and it's like, whoa, the door's open. That's still Josh.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't
so
get
they're
it.
just different versions? Like, his astro... Like, I don't get it either.
I don't know.
I'm lost for words. Because fucking same. I don't
Same.
understand either. So, I feel like this is what that was. Either way, I love the scene.
100%.
It was a really good one. I thought it was
scene.
really good, and
it was really good.
I loved it a lot, and I like the way that they connected it. I can't get over on how he can grab the hammer, and then how it led him into the ending of episode. Oh my god, of chapter 2, and he got to see his dad, and then he got all scared. I
did feel. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and it also felt really bad. I felt really bad when he was like drawing and crying and painting at the same time. I was like, oh,
I felt bad for Josh, like good Josh, obviously, because, and it's understandable, but both Dalton and Foster were under the impression that it was actually Josh that was trying to hurt them, but really it was, you know,
fucking
possessed Josh.
The lady in the black dress. It was very
know.
sad.
Which, speaking of the lady in the black dress, she had that little 1 second screen
She did.
moment on screen,
She sure
and
did.
she still found a way to freak me out.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that screenshot that we got, or that little snippet, was from
Where she's choking.
when she's choking.
I thought she was in
Elise.
this movie. I thought she was choking Dalton. I don't remember.
She is. In this movie, she is. But I think the snippet that we get of her choking is actually from chapter 2 when she's choking
Renee?
either Renee or part 1 when she's killing Elise. Either way, that snippet of the woman is not from this movie. Like, they just included it, I think. But yes, in this movie, she's choking Dalton.
That's what I thought. I will say the Tiptoe song, iconic.
Will forever haunt my dreams as well.
ma'am.
And I was like, you know what? Me. Because the fact that he said, I like what I like. And I know I can repeat a song if I want to.
And as he should.
And I just know that if that artist ever went on tour, Lipstick Demon,
That artist is dead.
front row.
The artist is dead.
I know.
Okay.
But, I mean, he can be in the Further.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So he can be given a concert in the Further.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
The
So I'm
Lipstick
like,
Demon would be front row. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, for sure. That man gonna be front row trying to buy a VIP.
Oh, 100%.
He's like, oh my god, I love this song.
As he should.
I torture my humans to this song.
Yeah, I know. The scene where Chris and Dalton are in his dorm, and Dalton, I think, is in the Further, and Chris is trying to turn the lights on and everything. The contortionists that come out from under the bed and from the closet, may I just say, they slayed.
Shout out to them.
Served cunt.
They did. They rent was due because they did amazing.
They did.
Yeah.
And I think contortionists are really cool, and like the way that they can move their body.
They are so scary.
And in like the actual movie, I think it was just all super creepy. I really enjoyed it. I really liked that
I thought so
scene.
too. I think they did really good because there's something about moving your body in such a fluid like way, like if you have no bones, is so creepy. And then having to do it on the floor, disgusting. Okay, last thing before we kind of move into the cast, which is, we'll mention the cast. Renee and Josh being divorced. Very sad.
Very sad.
And so whenever we got like the hint of them being divorced was in the very beginning. Whenever Josh at the end said, whenever he was at her house and said we could have gone through this together, basically saying like, if maybe we didn't force our memories to like be suppressed for so long, me and you could have gone through this. And then I'm like, I probably could have. That's so sad, because it's like having to hide that big of a secret for 9 years. Dude, from your husband and from your son.
I don't know how she did it.
And she had to force Foster and probably Callie and the grandma, like, to lie to them too. Like, that is.
Did the grandma erase her memory too? I feel like the grandma knew, right? I feel like Renee and Lorraine and Foster and Renee all knew. But I think Foster was just still really young.
Yeah, and so he was also like, I don't know if it's a memory or if it's just kind of like a dream.
I see.
And so his mom, well, I guess, they're basically lying to Foster as well. But Lorraine and Renee had to keep that huge secret away from them. Secret. I mean, it was a choice that Josh made for him and Dalton at the end of chapter 2. But at the same time, I'm like, I get it as a precaution for them not to have to go back into the further that way. But I'm just like, that is immense. Like, that's hard.
I hope Renee's in therapy.
I know. I'm like, girl, you've been through so much. That is scary. But anyway, and I love them as a couple. And so I was kind of sad that I didn't get to see them as a couple. And I'm sad that I also didn't get to see as much as Rose Byrne as I'd like to.
Yeah, same.
Because she's so beautiful.
She is very beautiful. She did not age a second.
Not at all.
A second. I was like, damn, girl.
No, but she looks really good.
She does.
Love her.
But getting into the cast now, we have a pretty good cast. Of course, most of this cast is pretty familiar. But we've got Ty Simpkins as Dalton Lambert, Patrick Wilson, Josh Lambert, Rose Byrne, Renee Lambert, Sinclair Daniel as Chris Winslow, Andrew Astor as Foster Lambert, Juliana Davies as Callie Lambert, Steve Coulter as Carl, Patrick Dager as Nick the Dick. I have some thoughts about Nick the Dick.
Absolutely.
Joseph Bishara, count your days.
Count your fucking
count
days.
Your days.
Okay,
Lipstick
Joseph. Joseph, you're done.
Yeah, you're done. David Call as Smash Face. Who is that?
I don't know.
Is that the dad? Like Patrick's dad, maybe?
Smash Face.
Like that's what he has. That's what he's.
That's what they have him as.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to look it up because
we are gonna have to look it up.
I don't know who Smash Face is.
I don't know either.
I know Smash Mouth. So
of course you do. Stephen Gray as the sick deceased kid.
Dude, he was also scary.
He was pretty spooky.
Very.
That scene where I did close my eyes in that scene where Dalton was under Nick's bed. And
the minute that I saw that he was over the bed, I just knew he was going to vomit. And the anxiety in me that has the phobia of vomiting, I looked away immediately. And I said, no, thank you.
Lee Winnell as Specs, Angus Sampson as Tucker, and my homegirl Lynn Shay.
Love Lynn Shay. Love you, Miss Girl. Okay.
Yes. Acting.
Immaculate.
Like,
chef's kiss.
Even Nick the Dick.
He made me hate him.
Frat boy.
He made me hate him.
He sure did.
I was like, absolutely not.
Ty Simpkins, oh my god, the man that you are now. I feel like his acting was really good.
His acting was really good. I was telling my brother-in-law and my sister, like, after the movie, I was like, I just know that boy can cry on command. He looks like he can cry on command. And I said, good for you.
Good because for him.
That is sad.
Learn from his father, his on-screen father.
Bro, yes. And I think he did really well. He knows, I feel like, again, I've never seen him in anything else. I mean, aside from Insidious 1 and 2. But I don't, like, I think he knows how to play distressed and, like, awkward and, like, lost all at the same time, like, very well.
Yeah.
I would like to see him in something else before I can say that he's, like, a superb actor. Right. But I think for this being, like, maybe his first debut, like, biggest thing that he's been in. Now that
he's a little bit older.
Oh, my gosh. He did really well. He did so good. And This man looks exactly like he did when he was 9.
He does.
I was like,
Foster does too.
He does look like that
Foster
too.
played a really good fuckboy. Like, that man grew up to
Also be like, yup.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I think he did really well.
Callie,
and I love it.
Callie really said, I'm going to be in one scene and one scene only.
And goodbye.
And goodbye.
Immediately after that, she's like, I'm clocking in, getting my check, and clocking it back
I
out.
was expecting her to walk in while Renee was, or while Josh was going into the further.
Oh, yeah.
With, like, Renee and Foster being
in the
house.
living room. Yeah.
I was expecting her to walk in and be like, what's going on? Or whatever. But no, but it's okay.
No.
She got her check and she did.
And good for her.
Okay.
She had not one line, but she did amazing.
She did have one line. She wasn't she the one where she was like, during the funeral, she was like, I miss Grandma.
Oh, she's like, I miss Grandma. And then Dalton's like,
well, she doesn't miss you.
The
because
dead doesn't miss
people can't
anything.
Yeah.
And then Renee's like, oh, it's okay. No, I agree. I thought the acting in this was really good.
Same.
The scene that Ty and Patrick have in his dorm, and he calls him a little shit. I was like, oh, damn. There was somebody in the theater that said, oh. That's the only thing you hear. Oh.
I know.
It's very sad.
I will say that the ending, like the very end of the movie,
where we thought he was gonna die.
Who?
Patrick Wilson.
Where he's like, it ends with me and everything, and I'm for a split second I was like, okay, like Josh is gonna die because it's like it ends with me, you know, blah blah.
You can hear his heartbeat,
and then Dalton ends up painting over the painting. That shit, I was like, oh my god, that shit was so good.
Oh, it was really
so
good. He was, because he looked up like, is that blood? He's like, oh, it's paint. It's Dalton. I was like, oh,
I love it.
It was very sweet.
At the end of the movie where Patrick walks into the door,
I literally almost shed a tear.
and he's like, I made the wall, and we look over and it's the fucking painting.
I knew that it was going to be that, like, I knew that it was going to be that screenshot, but seeing it painted out,
I want that.
I'm about to cry thinking about it, because the way that I would pay millions of dollars for that fucking painting.
No idea the gasp that everyone in that theater gasped.
Oh
it was the cutest fucking thing ever. It was the cutest fucking thing ever.
Oh,
and then Patrick's like,
God.
I made the wall. My sister, I will say that when she first watched this, that was not the painting.
Oh, really?
The painting was just Patrick or just Josh. But my God, that they did
it justice by changing the painting.
They sure
100%. Because I think if it was just Patrick, I'd have been like,
I'm
oh,
like,
that's cute.
Like, yeah, cool.
Oh my God, he likes his dad now.
The fact that it's them in the
because
further,
it honestly makes it a lot more personable.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it so much better, because both of them together have been through that. So, like, they went through so much shit going into the further, and it's what bonded them. And the fact that they were forced to, like, erase that bond. So then he grew up like hating him, because he thought that they never had anything in common.
Listen, everyone, both Josh and Dalton got daddy issues just like me.
Absolutely.
As they should.
They all do.
So,
they all do.
You know, I relate to them.
It's so sad. It was so sad that Josh had to see the note that his dad wrote that was like, it ends with me, and it didn't. And then he just never got to see his dad.
I know.
That's very sad. Yeah. But also, who his dad? Because he was a little handsome.
He was handsome.
He was very handsome.
Even possessed him was pretty handsome.
Yeah. But he looked very young and he looked very familiar. But I was like, I'm not gonna try and guess, because I could definitely be wrong. But I loved it. Yeah. I love the acting in this. The acting, everyone who was in this, we literally got the OG cast.
Yes.
Like, from the first two movies, we got everyone back. Everyone.
Even Carl.
And I really do think even Callie. Like, I think.
I actually don't.
She could not be, but okay. I'm like, I feel like the age range is like correct. So I don't see why not. But it was good, and I loved it so much. The only difference that I saw was, and I'm assuming is because the first Insidious or the second Insidious was made literally years ago, is that the pictures that Lorraine has of Josh when he was younger, and then it shows like the lady in the black dress. Those photos are not the same that they show in this movie, if that makes sense. Like, they're different. And I caught on to that, but I was like, I mean, I'm assuming that they don't have the original photos from the second movie because it was so long ago. But so they remade some of the photos, so they're not the same. But overall, I think they did a really good job connecting the universe and like showing exactly what could happen years later.
Yeah.
With the same thing, and it's so sad. But I loved it.
Loved it.
So, okay, we're going to get into some facts. And the first one being that this is Patrick Wilson's directing debut. So I had to Google. I was like, I don't think he's directed anything else. And then I Googled, like, what else has Patrick Wilson directed? And nothing else came up besides this one. So, again, I think he did such an amazing job for this being, like, his first project. Mm-hmm. And, for it being attached to, like, in a very loved franchise. Mm-hmm. And shout out to Patrick Wilson. He can not only act, but he directing shit. Mm-hmm. So good for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Can his next direct be part of the Conjuring universe?
Ooh.
What if he connected the two?
Shut the fuck up.
Imagine.
That'd be
because like
really
Josh is actually Ed, but like Ed. I don't know how they would make that work. Okay. But we would make it work.
We would make.
You know what I mean?
We have the determination.
Put me in the brightest room.
We're determined. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The second fact is the college featured in the film is named after Jane Pierce, who was one of the former first ladies. She was an occultist who would hold seances in the White House to communicate with her dead son. Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Patrick Wilson actually made a post about it.
Are you serious?
Which, give me like 2 seconds. I'm about to look it up. So if you go on Patrick Wilson's Instagram, he posted a few pictures of the college, and he captioned it, "Here's a few behind-the-scenes photos of Insidious the Red Door. I have my wife to thank for coming up with Jane Pierce University. I wanted a strong female name for the school, a dark presence looming large. And, I'm assuming his wife, he tagged her, discovered that former First Lady Jane Pierce was an occultist who apparently held seances in the White House to communicate with her dead son." He goes, "Insidious type stuff. Perfect."
Oh my god, yes. That is so sweet.
So that's really cool.
Shout out! Oh my god, what a very small detail, but the
lore behind it is
absolutely
pretty cool.
And it gives the name even it makes so much sense.
Yeah,
and that is perfect.
That's really
shout out to Patrick Wilson's wife.
Yes.
Okay, in this last one, I did not know, but the minute I heard the voice, I was like, "That's Patrick Wilson." Immediately. Yeah. The song featured in the end credits is "Stay," performed by Ghost, featuring Patrick Wilson. It is a cover song originally from the band Shakespeare's Sisters. The minute I heard his angelic voice, and I looked over to my boyfriend and I said, "Is that Patrick Wilson?" That's Patrick Wilson.
I will say, both my sister and I were jamming out to that song when during the end credits. Yeah. We were like, "Damn, this is good.
This is real nice."
Yeah,
that's really fun.
That's really cool.
Shout out to Patrick Wilson. He did a really good job with this project, and I honestly would love to see him direct something else. Maybe something that's not horror. Maybe like a drama of some sort.
Maybe
because it does sound
psychological.
Ooh, or psychological.
Yeah,
it does seem like he cares about heart, like in a film, if that makes sense. Like he wants to get emotional. Yes, which I appreciate. It's fine.
Yeah,
but he threw in some horror in there, which I appreciate too. So I love it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
All right. Now moving along with the episode a little bit more, I think it's time to play a little Would You Rather? Yeah. So for this Would You Rather spend a night alone, chained up in the lipstick demon's lair as he's jamming out to his little songs, or open the red door and explore even further?
LOL.
LOL.
So I'm gonna be honest. Okay. Both actually sound pretty
tempting.
Okay,
same.
Absolutely. So I would love to explore the lipstick demon's lair, but I can't do that if I'm chained up.
Exactly.
Like I want to see his actual room. Yeah. Like in the upstairs.
Yeah.
Where he's
jamming out, he plays his little...
And he's, sharpening his nails. Yeah.
putting on his little lipstick and shit.
Yeah, like I want to see what that looks like.
I want to know
because he has dolls up there too.
I want him to make a TikTok. Get ready with me.
The way that I would repost that. I would rewatch it. I would like it. I would comment.
I would add it to my favorites.
Absolutely.
I would follow him.
Me too. And I think it's only fair.
If he could do like a room tour as well, now that he's at it, that'd be really cool.
All right, guys. So this is gonna be my layer
As
little
you can
tour.
see, I have a few showcases of
one of my victims, like past life. Like I said, I do love to torture. It is my number one hobby. However, I do understand that the people I torture come with trauma and past life, so to respect them, I like to keep some memories,
right,
and this is where I keep them. But this right here, this is where the magic happens. This is where I take over their body and I fuck up their life. So it sounds tempting. However, I would like to be lost in the further for a little bit, just to kind of see,
I'm nosy.
Oh, 100%.
I'm nosy. And if I happen to bump into some other person's dream, I want to know what they're dreaming.
Like, so be it. You know what I mean?
I want to know who is astral projecting with me.
Me, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, who? Like, are you alive or are you dead?
Right.
I want to know.
Yeah. Are you lost in the further as like a human, as like a live person?
Yeah.
Or are you lost in the further as a dead person?
Yeah. Like, have you crossed over already? Have you not? Or, I mean, it's the further. So it's where the dead goes. So, like, the way that I would quickly be looking for famous people.
Exactly.
Robin Williams, where you at, man?
Exactly.
You deserve so much better. Miss you.
Like I mentioned in every episode, I do have a God complex. So the God complex in me is saying I want to be chained up in the lipstick demon's lair because I think I could change him. I think I could.
You think you could change him?
I think I could fix him because what if I start giving him more music recommendations?
Ooh.
He's gonna be like, you know what? I kind of fuck with her.
Yeah.
He's gonna let me loose.
Show him to like 80s rock.
Yeah.
I think he
or
would
like metal.
that. Yeah.
Metalcore.
Next Insidious movie, he's like rocking out to Metallica.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, like if I'm being for real, I feel like I'd be. Both are very scary.
100%.
So, I honestly, and the inner horror fan in me wants to be chained up in the lipstick demon's lair, but the inner chicken in me is just being like, just fuck it, open the red door and explore the further.
There you go. Yeah, I'm going to go with the further as well. I just don't I don't like the anticipation of probably being tortured, which I would probably get within the further. But the further is literally like a void, so I can just keep running.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I'm just gonna choose the further. I too want to know what's out there. I don't want to be chained down.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna explore.
Love that.
And then hope I find my body. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, okay, so before we end this episode, we are going to rate this movie. So now this is a horror movie, so we will be rating this with our two scales, satisfactory and scary. Just because a horror movie is good doesn't always mean it's scary, and vice versa. So, Jess, what would you rate this movie? And I want us to rate our favorite Insidious movie in order as well.
Okay. Scary scale. Honestly, I know what your answer is, and I'm gonna agree with it.
Okay.
Scary scale is 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Satisfactory is also 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, yeah, scary. It got me. It got me.
Yeah.
No matter how bad the last two Insidious movies, not bad, but like not the best. The last two Insidious were like, Insidious in general is always going to have a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
For introducing me to horror.
Oh, yes.
So, in general, I think that's just like inner me, like inner child me, like having kind of Stockholm syndrome to Insidious. And
I love that.
I'm always going to find this movie scary, like this franchise scary.
Right.
in general, the jump scares were pretty good. There were some really good build-ups and all of that. Satisfactory, again, 8 out of 10. Not too many complaints. Was it my favorite Insidious movie? No, because it goes to number 1. That goes to Insidious 1.
Right.
So yeah, that's me.
Okay.
And then to rate my favorite Insidious movies in order, Insidious 1 is 1. Insidious 2 is 2. Insidious Red Door is 3. 4 is 4. And 3 is 5.
3 is 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
So, same. So, yeah, my rating, my scary scale and my satisfactory scale are both an 8. Again, I loved it for an overall film, and I think an 8 is a pretty high rating. I think the only reason I just didn't give it a 10 is because of some parts that were a bit standstill,
There
bit
were
slow.
moments where I was like,
okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. But I mean, scary, it got me too. Like, there was a lot of jump scares that definitely made me jump. There was some point where I jumped so hard, I almost knocked over my drink. And I wanted to cover my face. I came home spooked. Like, it was great. I loved it. It did what it had to do. Could I have seen a little bit more blood in something? Yeah. Make it a little more gory next time, you know? But I mean, that's what keeps the movie PG-13, so we gotta respect that. So it was an 8 out of 8. I really like this movie as well. Not my favorite, but it's part of the franchise and I adore it. My list of Insidious movies honestly goes the same. Insidious 1 is my number 1. Insidious 2 is my number 2. Insidious Red Door is my 3. However, I do think that Chapter 3 is better than Chapter 4. So Chapter 3 is my 4 and Chapter 4 is my 5.
Okay.
If I could put Chapter 4 at number 11, I would. I really did not like that movie. Like, it's part of the Insidious franchise, so it has somewhat of my respect.
Is Elise's.
It's Elise's. Yeah,
okay.
I think they kind of just did like a. Yeah, I mean that's all they did. They did like a branch off of her storyline, which cool, love, because that's how we get to see her, how she became friends,
who she is.
Yeah, and become friends with Specs and Tucker, and I like the storyline, but as a horror movie, not my favorite, and I don't like that. It wasn't really part of like an Insidious like unit. Like it is, but it's not. It's kind of like I don't think they should have named it Insidious. I feel like they should have named it something else. It's kind of like Annabelle branching off of Conjuring. How we have like a different storyline there, or even from The Nun, part of the Conjuring universe, but it's not The Conjuring.
Right.
So I feel like they could have done something else with that, if that makes sense. I did think that Chapter 3 was pretty scary though. I wasn't obsessed with the plot line, but I thought that it was an actually pretty scary movie. And I liked it.
Insidious 3 was the first Insidious movie that I watched in theaters. I remember watching it with my brother and one of his friends at North Park. It was a spooky movie.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily my favorite.
Yeah.
And real quick, just to back up my little 8 out of 10 for Satisfactory, I think, and my sister said this, and I think it kind of went into my mind too, but I think it took a while for Dalton and Josh to even remember the further. Like, I feel like they could have, sped that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it took, almost an hour and 30 minutes for them to remember.
Yeah, it took a really long time. I think that's what I mean, that if it's, like, very slow-paced. Something that I didn't like, but I understood is, like, I don't hate that they gave Dalton a college life. I just don't like that that's where his discovery had to happen, if that makes sense. Because I feel like the minute we start introducing school and like college into like horror movies, it's not always the best for some reason. I just don't find a college setting scary. I mean, yeah, I do, but not for that reason. Not for a horror movie. And so I don't know. I just didn't like, but I understood it because Dalton and Josh were going through the exact same thing, just in separate locations. And so we were going back and forth with each, like, point of view. So, like, I can see why it would be liked, but I don't know. I just didn't like that, if that makes sense.
Understood.
But I get it. Like, I understand. And I like how they kind of connected it. Like, the only reason he even uncovered his trauma was because of his art class, and the same for like Josh, and so I get it, I understand it, and I can also see why like maybe they made the storyline. I feel like they probably made Josh and Renee divorced is because it seemed like they were trying to find real life situations to connect to kind of make it more of a relatable
Realistic?
movie.
Yeah.
Like a realistic kind of
Relatable.
setting. And what's more realistic than having parents who are divorced
Period.
and like not having a relationship with your father?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Just like me for real.
exactly. So like I get it. I understand it. I don't know. That's also something that it's more of a personal preference, not any actual horror science behind it. I was just kind of like, like whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Love that.
main thing.
Well, I think this concludes this episode on Insidious, The Red Door. Looks like we're nearing the end, but as always, this was a blast to record. I'm pretty sure we've gone over an hour, maybe at this point.
Just about, yeah.
Okay, great. If today's episode intrigued you and you haven't watched this movie yet and would like to, guess what? You can.
You still can because
In the
it's out in
movie
theaters.
But anyway, thank you again for joining us on this episode of Scream City. As we always say, we appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen and be part of our horror community. Your support means the world to us. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review or sharing it with your friends and family. And if you want to keep up with us, we will have our social media in the summary description.
You would think we would have this memorized by now.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't.
I know.
But anyway, no, seriously, guys. Yeah, we do seriously appreciate you guys' support, and we cannot thank you enough. And thanks. But with that being said, if you liked today's episode, please tune in to next week's episode where we continue the summer series and we talk about Summer of 84.
Woo!
So
I love this movie.
I've never seen this movie all the way through.
Okay.
So I had started watching this movie like last year. My brother-in-law and my sister tried to show it to me, and I just never finished it. Like we all fell asleep, and then I went home. So I need to rewatch it, and I'm really excited. I heard that it gives like Losers
Things
Club,
vibe.
Stranger Things
Yeah.
vibes, like all together, and I love that. And it's kind of like sort of like the same concept of like Black Phone. Sort
Yeah.
of like there's a killer
It's
on the
there.
loose and
Yeah.
they don't know who's doing it, something like that, and it's like targeting kids, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot when I first watched this movie. It had to have been a few years ago. But there was a summer where I would literally rewatch this movie because I liked it so much.
Aw.
I even own it in DVD, so it's real love.
Yeah.
I definitely have to rewatch it because it's been a hot second.
Same.
But I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too. I've never seen it, so I'm really excited to give like my first impression, and to kind of see like where it lands on my scary scale, and just kind of see if I vibe with it or not. Because it sounds like something I would vibe with. I love all concepts of all of the movies in the show that I just mentioned. So
It's like 80s slasher.
yeah, and who doesn't love a good 80s slasher?
Exactly.
So I'm excited. Okay, cool.
But before we end it, Monica, I have an important question to ask you.
Yes.
Will you? I'm just kidding.
Will you marry me?
Do you think this week's movie, Insidious, The Red Door, was a movie?
Thank you for clarifying. Absolutely. I think it was a movie.
I agree.
I thought it was a movie.
I agree.
Absolutely. It was more of a movie than last week's movie. For sure.
What was last week? When a Stranger Calls?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree.
Last movie was a movie. But this one, it was a movie.
This is
A
the
movie.
epitome.
Oh, 100%.
Of a
Also, for my little horror babies who don't like horror, don't watch it.
Don't watch
Don't
it.
watch
Yeah.
this.
I know.
If you get so spooked easily,
a lot of episodes where like this is a great first,
like
if you're
first
new
one
to
to
the
get
horror,
yeah, like something simple, nothing
Yeah.
too crazy. Don't watch this movie.
Don't watch this
This movie will have you jumping. Don't have popcorn in your hands. Don't have drinks in
drink.
your hands. I almost dropped my
don't
drink.
have
I'm
a
not
child.
joking.
I mean, you cannot. I mean, if you want,
You can have a child in your arms, but just expect that baby to be on the floor. This one was spooky. It's
was.
very spooky. I will say that I do, and which is why we love it so much. But if you're easily scared with jump scares and like monsters, this one's not the one for you. It's not the
It's
one.
not.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next.
Maybe-
yeah.
maybe next week.
I think that maybe next week.
Maybe
yeah.
next week.
Yeah,
We'll see. But for my little horror babies who are trying to ease their way in, don't start with this one.
Don't start.
Don't start. So
right.
yeah, we just have to put that out there.
Well, there you guys have it. Thanks again. we will talk to you guys next week. And as always, we've been your hosts, Jessica
And Monica.
Stay safe
And stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.